Hello, all you hardcores out there. How you doing? This is Russ here from Poker's Corner, the biggest gob in sport. We say the things on here that nobody dares say. I'm just waiting for Anthony to log on. You there, mate?
You should be able to hear me. Hold on. No, you can't.
Mate, how you doing?
Right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate. How are you doing?
Good.
All
All
right.
right. Yeah, yeah, good. All good. Thank you very much, Mr. Porky.
Good,
I was
man.
just thinking about the
Drink. Go
first
on,
part
what?
we just did, and the point you were making about promoters. Do you play poker, don't you?
Yeah. How do you know
Right.
that? Like?
No, no, I was just saying because I was going to use a poker analogy. What you find with a lot of the
Check.
promoters of that, they get what's called pot committed. So when they're pot committed, like Matchroom were with Ben, what they do is that they got to cover it up. They got to have an excuse. They got to do this to preserve their fighter. And once they've done that, they then want an even bigger cash out day, which is why you're going to see the shenanigans. And what we saw with the egg gate is only the start. They're going to go way more than that to really sell it.
Well,
Yeah.
this is how I look at it, right? Promoters are just gonna milk this for what they can. But I said this to James the other day, and Kent agrees with me on this. Peter De Freitas as well. If Conor Ben was called Conor Jones or Conor Smith, with his CV, he'd be fighting 8 rounders at York Hall, wouldn't he? On a small hall promotion.
Nobody would ever bat an eyelid at him. He's
No.
got the right surname and they've got the narrative. Because let's have it right, you and I know in the 90s, that was a huge, huge rivalry because of the different characters of the fathers. And all they're doing is having a go around again when it's always the case, though, Porky, isn't it? Whenever you get great fighters, they never produce great fighters. Tommy Hearns hasn't done it. Joe Fraser hasn't done it. Nigel Benn
Marvis
hasn't
Fraser
done
had
it.
icing myself.
You know, it's always a case, isn't it? Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men. That's what you find. Yeah, it's very rare that you get great fighters and their sons become great fighters. I don't know. I don't know any. I can't think of any. My boxing knowledge. So, you know, but they're milking it again because they can keep the narrative going, calling it the second gen.
Conor Ben's 29 next year.
Yeah, unbelievable, isn't it? Time's flown.
He's not a young man anymore, but people keep going on about talking about him like he's the second coming of Aaron Pryor.
Yeah,
No.
he never was, and the psalm that he had in his system is unbelievable. So it's not cool.
What did you think to Bombay Dave's interview with the Gad on Talksport, saying Conor Ben, when his career first started, he weren't a puncher, and then he had his jaw broke. He went missing for a long time, came back, and then all of a sudden he went icing people. And then when he got busted, he went back to being a non-puncher. So can anybody explain to you what's gone on
Well, yes, because when you see what he was caught with in his system, you begin to realize that perhaps he was getting some help, or as you quite aptly put it, he's eating the cornbread.
there? Conor Ben is 29 in 6 months.
Right,
September. He's 29. So he's 30 next year. So he's hardly next gen, is he?
correct.
He's hardly next gen, mate, is he? Come on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. The clomiphene that he's caught with, right, is what's called. You know what a psalm is? Do you, Porky? SARM.
A psalm,
Right.
what's that?
Well, I'll tell you what a psalm is. It's short for selective androgen receptor modulator. That's what clomiphene is. And what it is, this is my chemistry background. And what it is, it's halfway between creatine and steroids. And what it does is it gives you all the benefits of steroids with less of the downside. Because the problem with steroids is it enlarges the heart, and the problem and boxing is a power endurance sport. You need to have endurance, right? And because steroids destroy your endurance, it's not really quite the right thing for boxers to take for an advantage. But SARMs are. And the reason is they act slightly differently to to steroids, but you get all the muscle building effects, all the power, all everything else. Because what it does is it effectively stimulates your body to produce more testosterone. That's what it does.
Wow.
So what Tonna Ben had was 1,000% cheating. And that was very different to what Bricktop was saying when he mentioned the antihistamines. Because antihistamines, no one's ever busted for an antihistamine. Do you know why? Because it doesn't give you any competitive advantage.
Yeah.
No, doesn't give you any competitive advantage at all. So Bricktop was talking a whole load of shit, and I'd love to have been there to question him about it, but he would have had me removed, right?
What would you, sorry, Anthony, what do you think of the rehydration clause that the Eddie Hills, the Iceman from Billericay, 7-0, 5 by way off, fresh after his TKO victory over Adrian Mowell, which was really a push, but Marcus McDonald gave it as a TKO. Right. What do you think about the rehydration clause that were £10, but it's now £12? But we only have that for world title fights, but it's not a fucking world title fight. So why has Chris Eubank Jr. allowed that to come into this fight when it's not for a title? So he's as bad as them, really, and he's just as big a brass as them. You think?
I couldn't agree with you more on that, Porky. And let's have it right as well, right? Eddie Hills is playing with fire and hasn't learnt from when his old man promoted the Eubank Watson fight when they're all weighed in under 12 stone, right? It is very, very dangerous to weight drain fighters simply because the knockout comes from the ricochet of the brain inside your skull. And your brain actually sits in a liquid, right? Water. And what happens when you actually cut your weight is you not only deplete your water from the rest of your body, you deplete the water from in your head. So, in other words, if you go in there dehydrated, when you take a punch, right, the effects are amplified, right? And the reason the effects are amplified is that you are dehydrated. And it's that dehydration that causes the type of rotational injuries that people like Michael Watson had and people like Spencer Oliver had. And to me, I'm staggered, Porky, because not only is Eddie Hills playing around with this, what did he do to Kell Brook? He got Kell Brook to step up 2 weight divisions against the killer, against the puncher. And you just think, my goodness, you can't have behavior like that. And then when someone dies on your show, you're showing crocodile tears. You can't have it both ways, Porky. You can't get a little bit pregnant, right? To me, I think that the rehydration clauses are dangerous. And not only that, again, it takes two to tango. So you're right. Chris Eubank Jr. is a great businessman because obvious the skill he's got and what he's got out of the game is tremendous. But he's also a bit reckless because agreeing to rehydration clauses when, let's have it right, you're going to be tight at the weight, to me, is recklessness. And I don't know what his father has said about it because I saw the video that he put out on his channel where he spoke about the Watson fight. And that really affected Senior because he didn't have a knockout after that. It really, really affected him badly. And, you know, wh why do you want to play Russian roulette with those kind of outcomes? That's my view, Porky. It's not it's as I said in the part one, right? Your words tell you or tell people who you would like to be. Your actions tell people who you are. And in my opinion, Eddie Hills is just as ruthless in some instances as the Don Kings and the Bricktops of this world, because you know, let's hope for goodness sakes that nothing goes wrong for either fighter. You know,
You do remember Michael Watson and Eubank having the rematch, but they had it at super middle.
correct.
Barry
But they
Hearn
all
put,
weighed in. They weighed in under super middle though, didn't they? They weighed in two pound under, I think it was.
no, Barry Hearn put a clause in the contract saying they had to weigh in at 164.
Right.
So they both did at 164 from 160. And I'm starting to wonder if that £4 made a difference to Michael Watson because they're fighting for a 168 belt,
Yeah.
but Michael Watson weighed 164, didn't he?
Yeah. Of
Now,
course it did.
the last thing you lose when you lose, I don't, when you lose weight and there's no in you, you lose it from your head. You know,
Yeah.
the water from the water around your brain that protects your brain. So when you're getting punched
Yeah.
in the head, bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Your brain, if it's not got much fluid protecting it, it's getting
It
knocked
moves.
time
Yeah.
and it
It
causes
moves
a blood.
more.
It
And
causes a
it
blood clot, doesn't it? Yeah.
correct, and it's the bruising that's the inside. Because anyway, as you remember, because I used to hang around with Errol Christie, I met Watson and Eubank and whatever. And when you see the size of Watson, right, it's naturally a very big middleweight, very big middleweight. So he would have been tighter at 164 than Eubank for sure. Right, and the smallest of all of them is Nigel Benn. You know,
Yeah, but why don't people look at it like this then? But Marjorie were a big puncher. Why don't people look at it like this, Anthony? That surely Eddie Hills would have learned from his father's mistakes about there nearly being a body on the slab, but he didn't, has he? Because
correct.
he did it with Kell Brook against Golovkin,
Yeah.
and he's now doing it with Ben and Eubank. Fighters, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, and I sound like a broken fucking record. Fighters are not superheroes. If they were, Barry McGuigan had fought Frank Bruno, Nazim Ahmed fought Lennox Lewis, and Nick Ball would be fighting Anthony Joshua. You see where I'm coming
Correct.
from?
Yeah, there's weight classes for a reason.
Jesus.
And what you should also have is that you've got to have a look at the general state of the fighter. I mean, a classic one was the one we've just had in Riyadh with Martin Bakoli. As soon as you see him, it's plain for anybody to see.
Fat as a pig.
He shouldn't be in a ring with anybody, right? It's not going to go well. And money always trumps these issues. And I'm very shocked that Eddie Hills is doing what he's doing because there have been tragedies. There's been tragedies with Ben, there's been tragedies with Eubank Jr. and tragedies with Eubank Sr. and tragedies with Eubank Jr. as well, with Nick Blackwell,
Yeah, well, this
right?
is how I look at it, right? Bob made a good point on here. I'm going to nick your saying here, Bob, but I'm going to give you your credit for it. Bob said to me, obviously, I go on about this all the time, but how he put it is perfect. Perfect. I always say fighters they're going to be took to meat market. Dennis always used to say, "Look, in 5 years, I'm going to pluck him." Right, that's how they look at it because the promoters, because they're putting money into the fighter, but then they're going to get that back. Now, a farmer. If he's got a set of pigs or sheep or cows, he loves them cows, he loves them pigs, and he loves them sheep. They hose them
Yeah.
all down, they keep them warm in the winter, they give them hay, they feed them all year round, they have vets come and check them and all
They've
that.
even got
All
names
that.
for them.
Yeah, they even give them pet names and they love them, right? But what happens is, sooner or later, they've got to be took to the slaughterhouse. So that farmer's going to get his investment back in it. Now, that's no different to what's going on here with Ben Eubank. They need the money back from Ben and they don't care for Eubank want to get one over on him. And that's why I've got a big problem with Sam Jones because Sam Jones, the other night on Friday on Channel 5, put his fighter in a fight and he weren't a fully fledged pig or a warthog. He was a
Yep.
baby piglet and he not
Right.
done his own work. That's box rec matching. You don't just match somebody off box rec. You've got to go and do your homework about the opponent. And it's inexperience, but this guy's supposed to be this expert. No, fucking arse licker, mate. And that's what it is. And these arse lickers are creeping into the sport and they don't know what they're fucking doing. That's the bottom line.
I'd agree with that, Porky, because at the end of the day, as I said, has Sam Jones had any fighter that he's taken from A to B and it's all been good? He's always had some kind of a whoopsie. And that tells you that he doesn't know what he's doing, or he does know what he's doing, but he's kamikaze.
Listen, Sam Jones knows what he's doing. He's lining his own pockets. He knows, obviously, he knows boxing, but he's playing the game. You know, a lot of them, they play the game. That's where they just play the game to line the pockets. Look, we see it day in, day out. We're seeing it with the Gad the other night on his interview. Mark Timms ended up jumping in on interview. The Gad is playing the game. He's playing it down. But what I'm getting fed up of with the Gad is this. I'm sick to the back teeth of him going on about his intense beef with Daddy Fudd. Right? Is that all we're gonna get now? For next 10 weeks, we're gonna get Daddy Fudd's beef with the Gad and Dave Allen boring pants off us about Eddie Hills telling Dave Allen about you weren't ready for Daniel DeBar and all that. Yeah, he weren't ready for Daniel DeBar. You had one in the game, Dave, but you did tell him to ask for another 100 grand. So does that make it right? Because said he'd have been lying in his pockets if he'd have fought the bar, but Darren Barker would have got paid extra, blah blah blah. So if he weren't ready for Daniel DeBar, why would another 100 grand make any difference? Because you're saying he would have got battered and hurt. But yet for another 100 grand, well, it don't matter. He got battered and hurt, but we all got paid a bit more. These were these scumbags. Scumbags slip up when they do interviews. You see where I'm coming from? And you've got the
Yep.
white rhino sat there in front of him, and he can't say nothing because he wants paying off the fishy fight, doesn't he? But I know what David personally thinks about that carry on that didn't happen because he went into wilderness for years after that, didn't he?
Correct.
You know
And
where I'm
not
coming
only
from? But
yeah.
now, oh, it's Team Eddie. Eddie, get Eddie there and Frank Smith there. David should be embarrassed because I know what I would have said. You ain't working with you. Why are they going to sign with somebody else, mate? But they've got to play the game, and it's about playing the game and having a bit
Yeah.
of brass neck to take the criticism because he's not going to get a job, White Rhino, is he? What's he going to do? You're not going to get a job, is he? You're going to be a
No.
fireman, one in 5 years ago. You fireman, do me a favour. So that's how it is. Once you've been spoilt, you're always going to be spoilt. But he is owed money from them. They put him in with Louis Ortiz, got him smashed up. Off his own back, he took the Yoka fight. He got him, went in with Dylan White and got knocked about. And he didn't win that fight.
Yep.
David Price fight were on Matchroom, got smashed to pieces in that one, and his head were ringing for weeks after. But the Ortiz one, he was smashed to death. And Eddie said, they said, Eddie, are you mates with Dave Allen? Went, oh, I don't give Dave Allen a second thought. We seen it. We saw the interview, didn't we? Unless I've got to work with him and I don't get attached to fighters. Like, look, Eddie Hills don't care for Dave Allen and vice versa. He's just telling us waffle and lip service because they're going to fight to sell. And that's how they're going to sell it. They're going to sell it as Dave's pissed off about Eddie, telling him to ask Bricktop for extra money for the bar fight. Why David tell Eddie that anyway? I don't know because he never had a deal with Matchroom and still haven't. The other part of it is the Gad's intense beef with Elmer Fudd's dad, Daddy Fudd. And is
Yeah.
that it? Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that where we're going?
Correct. And I think it's on. I think not Dave. It was Bob said on his channel that even the money that he's getting paid for the rematch now is not what Dave wanted, is it? Eddie Hills
Well,
is
where's Dave
absolutely.
Allen going to go if he don't take this rematch for pony money? What's he going to do? What's he going to do? Go get a job at Polypipe in Doncaster? Eh?
Was
Well,
that
what's he
yeah?
gonna do? Well, what? Well, he's not gonna do no. He can't do no, can he? What's he gonna do? Go on social? He's just gonna be sat at home with a few houses he rents out. He'd be bored to death, wouldn't he? You're not gonna get a job. They're gonna hang around boxing like bad smells. So he's had to take it, and they knew that. That's why they've made him sweat. Now, Liam Cameron and Ben Whittaker fought on the same night. Theirs has been signed weeks. Now,
Weeks and
obviously,
weeks ago.
David's dug his heels in over this one, hasn't he? But eventually, he's probably sat there at home, looked in the mirror and thought, well, if I don't get the Fisher rematch for pony money, what
Where
am
am
I
I
going
going
to
to go?
do? Where am I going to go? Where's he going to go?
Yeah,
There you go. That's your answer.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it is what it is. But
And
I
it,
hope David knocks the smoke out of him, puts him on fucking bottom moon because he got shafted in first fight, didn't he? That's the bottom line. He got
yeah, but
shafted to death.
can I have a beef about Dave Allen on this
Go on, then you can
this
have a beef
Porky?
about him if you want. Yeah, go on.
What is he doing? He actually said, I think it was on his own channel. He says he's 2 stone overweight since Christmas and whatever. And you just think, Dave, do yourself a favor,
Can't
because
do, can
when the
they?
two of you are in the ring, it's down to the two of you, and the only thing you need to do is take this seriously, because if you take this seriously, you get a bit of a bigger bargaining chip for your next fight.
Mm.
And what do we hear? He's got to go to fat camp to prepare for the fight. What are you doing, Dave? Why is it that guys, all right, he's got a limited talent or whatever, but he's never taken it seriously before? And it's the same MO where he's not taking it seriously now, Porky. And the irony is as much as you love fighters and you want their money or whatever, sometimes fighters are their own worst
Worst
enemy.
enemy.
And it's unbelievable because a fight like that against the high profile ticket seller, he should have knocked him out the first time if he was fitter. And you telling me that he hasn't worked that out? Come on, Dave. Has he not been knocked about that much?
Yeah, well, obviously something, isn't it?
What is it? It's the old adage, isn't it, Porky? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah, that's correct. That Tony Bellew always used to say that, and it's no true
It's the
saying.
same all the time in every aspect of life, right? If you put the hard work in, look at old Frocci, right? Frocci was not a slick boxer. He's carved out a marble and he's as hard as you can get him. But the amount of work he puts in, when do you see it? You see it in the 12th round against Jermaine Taylor when Taylor wilts because he's too strong.
Look at the
And
Brian
that is
McGee
for hard
fight for
work.
British and Commonwealth.
Yeah, that's when you see it, right? And you also, all right, let's use the same fighter. Look at the first George Groves fight. Because Groves was his mandatory, he didn't take him seriously, and not as much as he used to. Right. In fact, me and you had a little chat about this earlier. I think you said he wasn't doing it, but he got away with it, right? Because
We were
Foster
going on
stopped it.
treadmill in his garage instead of doing hard runs on the hard road, and it caught
Right,
up with him, didn't it?
right. Now look what happened when he said, "All right, this guy is a challenge," and what did he do?
He
It's
trained
the
his
six
knackers
P's.
off.
Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. The 6 P's.
Okay.
That's what he did. And we all saw what happened. And
Yeah.
Dave Allen is just unbelievable as a
Okay.
fighter who's been not only has he been knocked about in the ring, he's being knocked about out the ring, and he's not doing himself any favors because, as I said, if he's got to lose another 2 stone to why do you have the 2 stone on? You know that the rematch is coming.
Yeah, well, that's his business, isn't it? He's not bothered. He's going to get paid for the fight, isn't he?
Right. Well, but it's Joe Fraser said it, isn't it? Boxing's the only sport where you
You
get
can
your
get your
brain shot,
brains shook, your money took,
but it
and your
took
name in the Undertaker's book.
absolutely. And he was saying it back then. How
So,
right he was.
yeah, well, let's finish off on this last one here. Uh, Turkey and Dana White, they want to take over boxing, and Turkey's turned around and said something. It's He relishes the competition and he's going to be the top dog and all that. So it's Turkey and Dana White. Where does this leave? From Billericay, the 7 and 0 Iceman in the blue corner, Eddie Hills. Hills. Where does it leave Eddie Hills and old Dinted Bricktop? Where are they now?
They're out in the cold, aren't they?
They're out
They're
in
out in the
just a
cold.
couple of bare bums in the shower now, aren't they?
Correct. It's interesting that Turkey has decided to go for somebody outside boxing to create the matrix that he thinks works long term. Very interesting. What I think, and again, I had a chat with James about this in the group, and I think that James has called it right. It isn't going to be a UFC model where the fighters get underpaid because Turkey ultimately is going to be calling the shots because he's the one with the money. But what you're going to see, in my opinion, is a hybrid model of where boxing is now and what the UFC is now, because he'll rein Dana White in. Because you can't have a situation where Dana White and Turkey are making more money than the fighters. So will it work? My view is it's a medium to long term play. So we'll see how that happens. The only way they could do it and have an immediate effect is if they go and literally buy out the companies with the top fighters because the top fighters aren't going to go for it, right? They could do it. They did that before in the UFC, didn't it? The UFC
Yeah.
bought things like Strike Force and things like that. But it's interesting that he's decided not to properly get into bed with Bricktop and Eddie Hills. And you know what, Porky? I think that what you were saying earlier carries some weight. He must have looked at them and he thought, these guys, you know,
Shithousers. He's looked at
yeah,
them all. They were all tiptoeing about. All right, listen. I've heard back, I know people that were going out there. They were all tiptoeing out there, showing loads of respect and all that. Big John Fury was showing respect, Spencer Brown, all the rest of them and all that. They're all, oh, it's great here, and Saudi's great, and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And the mask slipped, didn't it, after about
yep,
18 months? John
they lift
Fury's
their
running around
skirts.
threatening people, headbutting people. And there's
Yeah.
been other things that have gone on. People pulling out of fights and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Look, bottom line is this. None of them can be trusted. And he must have looked at them and thought, you know, what am I doing here, wasting my time with this shower of shit?
Yeah. I'd
And
agree with
that's
you.
what I think's happened. That's what I think's happened. I think he's thought, these are not for me.
Hey, can I ask another question,
Ask me
Forky, which
anything you
you
want,
could
kid.
do? That headbutt that John Fury did to that kid,
Yeah, yeah.
I reckon behind the scenes that went down like a lead balloon, and the
You've
Furies
not
were
heard a
told,
pipe out of him since, have we?
yeah, the Furies were told, Tyson was told, don't you ever come to our country and do something like that again, right? And my view is that John Fury was literally got rid of, not in the Essex Boys sense, but got rid of in the other sense because something was said and the Saudis started being Saudi behind the scenes. That's what I reckon happened there. And that also could be one of the other reasons, as I said, well, not when I say another reason, the fact that you've got people like that behaving like that on camera internationally tells you what low grade and low class they have. And Turkey must have thought, do I really want to work with people like this?
But
And, you
where's
know,
Tyson Fury now? He's crying his eyeballs out over his two losses and blaming everybody except his performance. You know
yeah,
what I
well,
mean?
Tyson's never had a deep CV anyway. And, you know, was it 4 or 5 wins over world champions and two of them the
Four,
same?
a three,
Four.
Wilder, Cunningham, and Vladimir, but two over Wilder. There you go.
Yeah, and Wilder was a WBC protected champion because he's the only
Who's
American one.
Wilder's best win on paper? Stavern twice.
Stavern, isn't it? You know, and how
Only
good's he?
champion he's beat is one man, Stavern.
Right. And that's been proven when you've because a lot of people saying,
Steve
"Oh,
Cunningham, a cruiserweight, stepping up, and Vladimir, an old man pushing 40.
yeah," and people were saying, "Oh, you both him and Wilder took lumps out of each other." Well, the reason that, excuse me, Wilder was taking lumps out of Fury was that the first time he was very unfit. But let's have it right. Once he had got a more of that weight off, Fury did him. And when you actually look and see what has happened to Deontay Wilder since. The guy couldn't box eggs. It's so obvious he couldn't box eggs. And if he can't box eggs, why is Tyson almost getting iced on the end of his right hand? That right hand would never be anywhere near people like Usyk because he's too good a fighter, right? And that shows you the levels of what they were where they were at. And to me, when we look at the careers now of Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, it shows you the levels of what they were at. Simple as that,
Yeah.
you know. And
Well,
these are guys. One of the guys, Fury's calling himself the GOAT. I mean, come on,
Jamie McDonald's got more wins over world champions than Fury.
you know.
So
You
has
know,
Richie Woodhall. There you
yeah.
go.
And there's a lot of good people out there that haven't had the money that they've had out of the sport.
Where
It's
does it leave
outrageous.
Bricktop and Eddie Hills, all this?
I reckon that we haven't heard from Bricktop since. He's probably still shoulder rolling and shaking with rage. And Eddie Hearn's saying that he's the best promoter in the world. I saw him, I can't remember where it was on. I think it was on the Stomping Ground. I saw him saying that. Let's have it right. He says he knew 6 months to a year ago. I don't believe that. I reckon he knew before us, but it wasn't 6 months ago. Um, I think he's fuming because at the end of the day, one minute he's talking about retiring, and then all of a sudden the news about Turkey and Dana White comes out. That's not a coincidence,
Look
right?
at
That's
this
not a
here.
coincidence. What's happened with Eddie Hills is he's put all his eggs in one basket, and all of a sudden it's heavyweight boxing. He got a busted flush, didn't he? You know, Joshua shit
Okay.
the bed against Ruiz, didn't he? And that's what happened. Um,
Yeah.
my view is that it leaves them with an uphill task, particularly Bricktop. I tell you why, because I think that the strategy they're going to use is that they're going to be signing younger fighters earlier in their career, good prospects, right? However, the issue is how do they develop them before they start matching them hard? Does it mean that those fighters have a shorter career? Probably because they're going to be matched harder and they're going to have the best fight in the best. There's two ways they can do it. They put in the big money now and buy the fighters or buy the companies that have got the fighters with all the big contracts now, or they do it from a grassroots and have what I call a medium to long term goal. It'll be very interesting to see how it works out because Paulie Malignaggi was talking about the Ali Act and a number of things that they're trying to get rid of. And here's the irony: we've got Dana White's best mate, a certain Mr. Trump, in office, and they are as thick as thieves. They are, and all the help he needs to certainly undermine that act, he's going to get if he needs it. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to finish off on this last bit here. We've got a few minutes. Lawsuit reveals Daniel Kinahan's secret dealings in Tyson Fury fight. Daniel Kinahan has been named in major. Let me just have a look.
That was that Irish journalist, isn't it? The female one.
Yeah, well, it looks like Bricktop, apparently, according to this, Bricktop threatened to sue him and had to back down because they had all the evidence, and that is on. Let's see what podcast that's on.
Was that on an Irish one where it was a female journalist and she was
Yeah,
talking to a guy? Because
yeah.
I watched that, I think last week when you saw it. Very
Crime World UK, and it's uh, it's telling you everything on there. But whether it's true or not, we're gonna. But these journalists are not going to put that out, are they? If it's
no,
not
the
true,
way they
uh,
what people don't realize is Britain has some of the strongest libel laws in the world, right? You've got to make sure that you can back up what you say. I'm not sure how the libel laws work in Ireland, but either way, I actually watched it. I need to watch that again. And it is unbelievable that it was very clear, all the Daniel Kinahan stuff, and they were hiding it from ESPN. ESPN, did you know that? They were hiding
yeah,
his
past.
involvement. Yeah. Um, but the problem is it had to come out, and Tyson Fury actually let it out the cat out the
He
bag.
let it out on Insta. Thank you very much, Daniel Kinahan, for making the Joshua fight and all that.
Correct.
Oh
That's
my
right.
God, you big mouth cretin. That's why it didn't happen then, by the looks of it.
Yeah. Well, and that's why he can't go to the States anymore. Remember, he was the flavor of the month in the States, wasn't he? Coming out with the Uncle Sam top hat and everything else, and all of a sudden now he's not going back there.
No.
I wonder why.
Okay, well, listen, it's been a pleasure to have you on, Anthony. Thank you very much. I'm going to have some lamb dinner now with a bit of mint.
Oh, mint sauce and
Lovely.
lamb is beautiful, isn't it? Oh,
Yeah, a bit of mash. Bit
they're
of,
made for each other. Listen, Porky, thank you very much. I just
no
also
problem.
want to um, big up Andy's Cavern and talk to Canada Bob on Canada's Boxing Channel.
Canada's boxing channel, and Andy's
Yeah.
cabin.
Also, Porky's Corner, because Porky sometimes thinks he's not making an impression. And Porky, you're going to have to tell all the viewers, I'm the one who says, listen, you're doing a good job and you ain't
Thank
going
you.
anywhere, mate, because I'm going to be on you like a bad smell saying, come on your feet, soldier, because you do a
All right.
great job and you allow a lot of good people to come here and say their piece. All right.
Thank you very much.
Not a
Okay.
problem, Porky.
You
Thank
take
you
care,
very
mate.
much for your time.
Cheers,
Take
mate.
care.
Bye. Cheers, mate.
Bye bye.
Bye. Well, that was Anthony. Nice to have him on. He speaks very clearly. Sounds a bit like Ultratech, doesn't he? And Ingram Jones. So nice to have him on. That's about it, really. We'll have some dinner now. Bit of roast dinner. Maybe a bit of Yorkshire pudding. If we can keep it down, that is. So thanks for liking and subscribing and sharing the videos and leaving a comment. That goes to you trolls as well. Keep leaving them comments. Keep watching. Pop, pop, bang.